So it was the summer of 2010, and an ailing Steve Jobs declared it was the post-PC era. It's not really the post-PC era in that we're presenting all of these presentations off a PC, or it's a Mac, but it's a PC. Most of you probably have multiple PCs. It's not really the post-PC era. What he meant by that is the primary way that we will all interact with digital information will be through mobile. And that is true. I probably spend most of my day on my phone and tablets, and only a little bit of my day on PCs now. The question is, if we're now in the post-PC era, what will the post-mobile era look like? And that's what I wanted to explore with you tonight. My name is Steve Brown. I used to work at Intel. I left them in June this year. I served with them for 30 years. I had a lush head of hair when I first started. And now I am the bald futurist. So I spend my time advising companies, helping them think through how will technology change their business? What will that look like? What do they need to prepare for? And so one of the questions I walk them through is, what does the post-mobile era look like? So there's a fair question you might ask, which is, what the hell is a futurist? And hello, old people out in the Periscope land as well. I spend my time thinking about, what does the world look like? What will it feel like to live in 10 or 15 years from now, sometimes 5 years from now? And that is a combination of not just thinking about technology, but how that technology will interface with new business process and business innovation, and how it will also connect with people and what people will want in that time frame. You have to look at all of those and how they come together to think through that. And when I was at Intel, I was part of the strategic long-range planning team looking at what will the world of technology be like in the 2025, 2026 timeframe. That was the most recent thing I was doing at Intel before I left. So that's kind of what a futurist does. And one of the ways I do that is through future casting workshops. I won't tell you about all the details of that. I want to get into the core of the content. If any of your companies are interested in doing workshops to help you explore what's the impact of all of these changes on your business, this is how I do it. Before we go and talk about the future, I find it's always useful to ground ourselves a little bit in where we have come from. Because we have come an awful long way, and sometimes we lose sight of that. If you look at all of the things that we didn't have just 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. 20 years ago, no Google. 5 years ago, no Lyft, no Snapchat, no Echo, no Nest, no Apple Watch. 15 years ago, no Facebook, no Twitter. So the world that we sort of take for granted now, it's not actually been around that long. So when I start talking about, well, what's coming in the next 10 or 15 years, that's the backdrop that you have to think about things in. My clicker's not working. There we go. So you could put it another way. The Cray 2 supercomputer was the fastest computer on the planet in 1987. It cost $16 million. I don't know whether you got these cool people that came with it, with the amazing haircuts. But $16 million bought you the fastest supercomputer in the world. Now the Apple Watch has twice the amount of computing power in it for $349. That's how far we've come. Another example, ASCII Red was the fastest supercomputer in the world in 1998. It filled a room the size of a tennis court, cost $55 million. Now you get 30% more performance in a PlayStation 4. So imagine how that plays out as we continue to move forward, as we continue to get more compute power and less cost. So iCharts summarized as the capability of computing is going to continue to go up and the cost per transistor is going to continue to tumble. That enables all of the things that everybody talks about. Supercomputers in the cloud, wearables, IoT, all of those things naturally fall out of this because we live in a world of transistors. There are trillions of transistors in this room, probably. The question is, what does it lead us to next? And I've talked about the fourth era of personal computing. I think this is a way of thinking about it. We started off with the PC era. We had media that came on floppy disks and even tapes before that. It was about running programs and you interfaced with a keyboard. Then came the web PC, the browser, talking to web servers, the mobile era we're in now, which is all about apps and touch as the primary interface, going up to the cloud. So what's beyond that? I think it's this fourth era, which is about IoT and wearables as being the place that you interface with computing. You're accessing services. Your main mode of access is through voice and gesture. And you're getting to sort of an evolution of the cloud, which is focused on artificial intelligence services hosted in the cloud. Let's dig into that a bit more. I think the next platform is a combination of things. It's not a thing. It's not the PC to the phone to the thingamy. That there is no thingamy. It's a technical term. There is no thingamy. It's lots of thingamies. Okay? So there will still be cloud services, but the traditional cloud services will just be a part of it. So storage and compute will continue to be there, continue to be important, networking, all of that. But built on top of that, analytics, AI, machine learning, conversation as a service, so conversational platforms, whatever social media becomes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then personal assistance as being a primary way that you start to interact with digital information and that helps you through your day. The primary interfaces, VR is looking pretty cool now. AR, so augmented reality, mixed reality, still got a ways to go, but when it gets there, that's going to be a very compelling new way to interact with digital information. Your smartphone will stay in your pocket a lot more when that's the case. Voice emerging strongly as a very likely way that we're going to interface with computing more and more. Gesture goes very nicely with this one. And then touch will still be around the same way mobile will still be around. Your smartphone today has become the remote control for modern life. It'll still be around, you'll just use it less. The same way your PC is around, you just use it less. And then endpoints will be a complete variety of stuff. It gets swept up in this idea of the Internet of Things, but there are lots and lots of different endpoints that serve different purposes and have different business models that sit behind them. We're going to dig into some of these now. So this idea of the Internet of Things is that all objects, or most objects, can become smart and connected. And once they're connected, you can do all sorts of really interesting things with them. The way to think about the Internet of Things in my book is it's about connecting the physical and the digital world together in completely new and very intimate ways. I don't have to get to digital information, I don't have to go to a destination of a computer or a smartphone or a tablet. Now, digital information comes to me through a variety of different sources, and digital information is created by mining things that are happening in the physical world. So you're connecting the digital and the physical world much more intimately than previously. And the Internet of Things is going to transform every industry. I still talk to companies we've heard about this Internet of Things thing, doesn't seem to apply to us. Retailers. We think it might be useful, but we're not sure how. That's a very common thing I'll hear with a retailer. It will turn their industry upside down, as it will turn every industry upside down, and I'll explain why. You can think about two sort of main buckets of IoT stuff, Internet of Things stuff. First one is smart objects. And I think about those as portals through which services are delivered and sold. And then there's sort of more traditional embedded notion of control loops, where you sense something, you make a decision, and you do something about it. And we'll dig into each of these. So first of all, service portals. Imagine a smart teddy bear. How many of you have a teddy bear, by the way? Be honest. Okay. Now, their primary function, what would you do with your teddy bear? Sleep with it. So when Brian's not around, it's for cuddling, right? I know these two in the front here. They've got the business class seats in the front. It's nice. So primary function of a teddy bear is for cuddling. But what if you make a teddy bear smart and connected? What happens? How does it change that object? What other things could you do with it? Well, one of the things you could do is create a teddy bear that could read a book to a child. You can connect it to optical character recognition software up in the cloud. You could even connect it to translation software if you wanted to. So you could create a product, a teddy bear, that can read a book to a child, because how many of you are parents here? Okay, so you know the third or fourth time around reading the same damn book, you know there's a cold beer or a glass of wine waiting for you downstairs. Wouldn't it be nice if Teddy could take over for the fifth read? Wouldn't it be nice if Teddy could also read a book that was written in English and read it aloud in French, Chinese, or Arabic, and teach your child a language you're not able to teach them? How much is that worth? How much is that capability worth to you? How much would you pay for a smart teddy bear? $50, $100, $200. Maybe it's $20, but the reading service, $5 a month. Maybe if you want English, it's $5 a month. If you want a language pack for the European languages, that's another $3 a month. You want Arabic and Chinese, another $3 a month. So you can see, you can start to monetize products in completely different ways when you do this. Here's an example. Creepy little sucker, but amazing. This is the Cognitoys dinosaur. Any of you seen this before? Simple piece of plastic with a connected little computer in there, very simple. It has a button, a light, and a loudspeaker and a microphone. That's all of the bill of materials this is. But it's connected to IBM Watson, and it allows kids to start to have conversations with this toy, to talk to it. It tells jokes. It tells them stories. It teaches them about the world. $120. Now, where's the value for that? Most of that is digital value that's being presented through this very simple physical form. So think about service portals. They are like a Trojan horse to deliver services. And what people are going to buy in the future is services, not products. So if you're still designing products in your company, be thinking about how you can turn that product into a service, monetize it differently. And if you can go beyond that to delivering experiences and transformations, all the better, because you'll get paid even more. When 5G comes, network latency tumbles, speeds continue to go up. Suddenly, you effectively have supercomputers inside every object like this. So you can start to have really smart objects that cost you very little to make. And finally, you have a slightly different profit incentive model now. Because you are selling through a physical product, you're no longer trying to build something that you want to obsolete, to buy another, like Smart Teddy Bear 2.0, throw the other old one away. Now you want to provision new services and have that teddy bear stick around as long as you can, because you're probably selling it at cost or below. So very good for the green side of things. So that's service portals. What about control loops? Control loops, simple example would be a sprinkler. You might set a timer on your sprinkler, but if you have a smart sprinkler, you would have a sensor in the ground, a moisture sensor that says, is the grass dry? Okay, it's dry. Spray some water. You like that sound effect? Your sprinklers don't make that sound? Okay. The advantage of this, if you live in somewhere like California or Arizona, is you don't just spray indiscriminately when you don't need to. So you're optimizing there for water usage. You could get even smarter. You could have a sprinkler that's also connected to the weather service. No point spraying water if it's about to fall out of the sky for free in 5 minutes from now. So you can start to create these control loops where you are essentially doing sense, interpret, act. I sense in the physical world, what is happening? Is the soil moist or is it dry? I figure out from what I'm reading, should I do something about that? Is the weather coming? Should I turn the sprinkler on or not? And then I make a decision and then boom, I turn the sprinkler on or I don't. And I keep going around this loop over and over again. Might be once a day, might be 1,000 times a second, depending on the application. So that's control loops. And what you're doing here, we're creating out of this, when we build enough of these, we start to have a world that is managed by algorithms. And what we're able to do, because we have immense amount of computing capability and sophisticated analytics in the cloud, you can start to build insights and find patterns that human beings will never find and run the world in a much more efficient manner than human beings ever can. What you're really trying to do in these control loop applications is you're trying to detect business events. Something happened that you need to act upon. And so think about it this way. You have hard sensors and soft sensors. In my sprinkler example, a moisture sensor and a soft sensor, I'm looking at the weather feed. I put that into some analytics, some AI, and I'm starting to decide what should I do. Now, in the sprinkler example, I'm just triggering the sprinkler to go on or off. But in a much more sophisticated example, where I'm perhaps running a manufacturing production line, or I am coordinating resources in a large retail department store, I have lots of different actions I can take. Some of them are using humans in the system to do something. I just trigger that human and say, go pick this up and take it over there. Or a big spending customer just walked in the store. Go and suck up to them. Robots are going to be working alongside us before we know it. So your options now, when you detect a business event, you've decided something happened. I need to act on it. My actions can be a human is triggered to take care of something, a robot takes care of it, or another algorithm is triggered to do some task. So it's a different mindset of thinking about business process going forward. Thinking about how can I sense business events and then make determinate actions on those. We are going to be in a world of trillions of sensors. Heard Adrian talk about the nervous system of the planet. And they're very different types of sensors. Don't think about sensors just like accelerometers in your phone or gyroscopes. You can use a Wi-Fi hotspot as a sensor. Retailers are already doing this. In China, if you go into a Starbucks in China, they use a service with a Wi-Fi hotspot where they sense how many customers are in the store right now based on basically how many smartphones are in the store right now, right? You don't have to connect to the hotspot for them to sniff your MAC address of your phone. So they actually change the music based on how many people are in the store. If they want to get you in and out, they play like loud punk music. If they want you to stick around a bit and make the store look more full, they'll play more sort of Frank Sinatra type stuff. So think broadly about the types of sensors that there are in the world and what might you need to detect business events in whatever problem it is you're trying to solve. I'll give you an example from retail world. So think about the last time that you went to try something on in a retail store. Typically, you go in the store, you grab 3-4 items, maybe just one item. You choose typically 3-4 items, put them over your arm, and then you walk to the store, and then somebody will take them from you. Let me help you, Steve. Let's come this way. And they usher you into a room, and then they very carefully lay it all out for you to try on. And you think they're providing you a nice service there, and they are. But the other thing that store associate is doing is they're carefully eyeballing all of the garments you took in. They're looking at the sizes, they're understanding the colors you have, and your style. And as soon as you close the door, start to get ready, they run off back into the store, and it's their job to try and find a few things, high margin things, that they can sell you up on. This fluffy gray sweater would look really nice with those black leggings. And by the way, I saw what size you are, so I already picked the right one out. Now that process, you could automate that completely. Because if you're a retailer, a stylist who understands style and fashion, maybe you're paying them, $20-something an hour. What if you could automate that so that anybody could do that service? You use RFID tags on the clothes. I know exactly what you took into the changing room with you. I know all the sizes, all the colors. I run that with an analytics lookup table. It's called a go with algorithm. I figure out all of the things that a designer has picked out for the whole of the product line. This goes with this, that goes with this. And I signal to the store associate, you need to pick out this one, this one, this one. Here's the map of where they are in the store. Go. Make it completely idiot-proof. So you get a better service for the customer, faster. The retailer ends up not having to pay quite as much. And the chances of that store associate getting a sell up and the commission that goes with it increase. So there's just one example of detecting a business event and then making actions and running analytics on it. Now, what do you see here? A fish. No, it's a cloud. But well done. Thank you for playing. You just proved my point exactly. What do you see here? Face. Yeah. No, it's a cloud. The problem is our brains have optimized for solving problems that don't always serve us well anymore. Our brains are optimized for looking for faces because they're looking for the faces of creatures hiding in the bushes that want to eat us. You don't have that much in like downtown Portland anymore. There aren't like lions and tigers and bears trying to eat you. But the problem is we are not perfect as a result of that. We have cognitive illusions. We spot patterns that aren't really there because we're looking for a certain set of pre-programmed things that our evolution has led us to look for. So we have hidden biases and we are irrational creatures. What percentage of the decisions that you make do you think are rational decisions? 50%, 5%, 100%? 15 to 70, okay? Yeah. I was just commenting on the fact that 15 and 70 don't add up to 100. That was my only question. But yes, most of the decisions that you make in a given day are emotional decisions. They are not rational decisions. And we get by and we do okay because we've learned to cope with that. But our brains don't work in a rational fashion. We are not designed for making statistical, probabilistic decisions. Here's my point. Are these lines straight or not? Yes, they're straight. You know they're straight because you've seen this test before. And yet, however hard you look at it, your brain says they're not straight, but you know they are. But they're not, but they are. Cognitive issues are exactly the same as optical illusions. A cognitive illusion is the same as an optical illusion. However hard you try not to see it and know that you're biased, you still can't help it. It worked very well in baseball. The Oakland A's in 2002 started to use statistical analysis and analytics and hardcore looked into how do I pick a baseball team that will win? And they managed to spend a lot less money and get right to the finals because they realized that they had all these cognitive biases. This is why businesses need to embrace this wholesale. Many businesses still have people who work in their midst whose job is to bring, now I don't like to do this on camera very much, but for the search, look at that. They bring their guts with them. And that's what they get paid for if they have a good gut. Right? Think about the person who decides the fashion design plans for the company, for Gap, or whoever it might be. They are paid because they have a track record of picking what the fashions will be next year. You could do that with analytics and do it well. When we're bringing in technology, one of the things I hear from a lot of companies is, oh, great, I can get rid of people and I can put in robots and algorithms to replace them. In some cases you can, but that's not always the smartest way to do it. And so what I advise many of my clients, and I advise you tonight, is don't think about things this way. Think about partnerships between humans and technology. Look at the inherent different strengths of these different components of your labor force, which now includes machines. And think about, robots are great for strength, endurance, and speed. They're not very creative. And they're also not very dexterous, at least not anytime soon. So be thinking about, how do I build teams that include a partnership between technology and human beings? Think about that for your business and think about it for the customers that you serve as you're trying to solve problems for them. Another thing to consider is that every business is becoming a data business. Everyone without exception. Everyone. Many companies are just becoming pure data companies. But other ones who have a core business are realizing they can make a lot more if they surround their core business with data-based businesses. So you gather data from the world. Facebook has a Facebook feed that you willfully put in loads of data about you into. Twitter does the same. Sensors do the same. You gather data, you refine it just like oil, because oil is not valuable, neither is data, until you refine it and turn it into insights that you can then monetize. And from that, you might create a new service. So if I know location data of people while they're driving, I can create Google Maps traffic information, for example. And then I can monetize that somehow and create revenue streams out of it. The most interesting companies on the planet right now have figured out that there is a feedback loop here. That once I have created a new service, I can use that new service to start gathering more data. And I can then funnel that back into the process and go around this loop, getting ever more complex, ever more interesting data sets that ultimately I monetize and get big bucks from. So this is Baidu's strategy, this is Google's strategy. Many of them are thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead. I need this data set to make a ton of money. In order to get that data set, I have to give this free service for which I will need this data set. In order to make that service, I have to have this data set. And so you work your way back multiple steps, and that's how you do it. I call that the data spiral. So every company needs to gather data relentlessly so that they can know their customers intimately, they can optimize every part of their operations, and that ultimately they can use that data spiral to create new value, to create new services, new products, new transformations, and monetize it. And the Internet of Things today is, there are lots of examples already. In the scope of what I'm doing today, I brought you, my little dinosaur here. You can come and check him out afterwards. Haiku, you can buy this. You can use this to scan barcodes of stuff you're about to throw in the garbage. It builds a shopping list for you. You can even speak into it and say, avocados. Right, now on my list that my wife has as well, it's going to say avocados. So, cool, little neat things. But they are already taking hold in business. I really like this Beam Dental one. This is a smart, connected toothbrush invented by a dentist. You'd think, well, what's the use of that? It's going to tell me I did a good job, a good little boy brushing my teeth? Yes, if you wanted to, I guess you could. The team behind this are revolutionizing dental insurance. If they know that you're brushing your teeth properly, they can cut your dental insurance from $50 a month to $15 a month. That's game-changing. I don't use that term very often, but that's game-changing. So behind all this Internet of Things is analytics and artificial intelligence. Let's dip into this quickly. Business analytics, you can think about 4 broad categories: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. And they answer different questions for you. Descriptive, what happened in my business? Diagnostic, why did it happen, do you think? Predictive, what might happen next and what might want to plan for around that? And then prescriptive, what should we do? This is the most interesting set of analytics. This is where you start to replace the gut people from your business, right? Because instead of the people who are the gut people who are right 50% of the time, and they're told they're awesome because they're 50% of the time they're right, you could maybe get to be 80% of the time you're right and figure out what are the products I need, what's the right pricing to optimize my revenue, what business processes can I optimize, how do I use my labor more efficiently, how do I direct my labor? All of this is where prescriptive analytics are going. We're also heading to a world of artificial intelligence. And you're already seeing many examples of it. There's lots in the news. I don't need to dig into it too much. But you're going to see it really affect a wide variety of different areas of business. And this is where we're going to see skilled jobs, highly skilled jobs, disrupted. If you are a radiologist, this is not good news for you. Any task that is highly repetitive, even though it is very skilled, so analyzing radiology charts and looking for tumors, highly skilled, people go to school and spend a lot of money in their school for years and years and years to do this. An algorithm will do that very well and already is doing it well using deep learning techniques. So deep learning techniques, you take a massive data set. I think this example would be lots of radiology charts. I know because lots of humans have trained this. We know, looking at a record of all these millions of radiology charts, this one's a tumor, this one isn't. You feed that into a learning algorithm, into an artificial neural network, and now I can create this trained machine where I can say, well, what about this radiology chart? Is this cancer or not? I get an answer, and I get accurate answers. So this is already in use in lots of different places. Machine learning is all around you. You may not be aware of it, but every time you use voice recognition, fingerprint recognition, music recognition technology, when you use Shazam, all of that stuff is using machine learning types of capabilities. So it's all around you. Expect it to be transformational to all businesses when it becomes sort of machine learning as a service in the next 5 years, if not sooner. Autonomous machines. I'm blasting through this. I want to give you a sort of broad picture of how all this fits together. Autonomous machines, we need to be thinking about, as I already mentioned, human-machine partnerships. Autonomous vehicles, as you heard from our two previous speakers, are going to transform cities. They will change the way that humans move around the planet. And we can start to think about people as packages, the same way that FedEx has all these fleets of planes and trucks and warehouses that handle all these packages. We can start to think about people as packages. There's no reason you couldn't have a pod come to your house. You put little Johnny into the pod, type in a code to secure Johnny. Off it goes to the soccer pitch. The teacher there types in the same code that they know to receive Johnny as a package. Saves you the trip to the soccer field. Johnny's just as safe as if you drove him yourself. So you can start to think of people as packages. And the other thing, while autonomous driving, 6 million people in America alone put food on their family's table by driving for a living. Their jobs are at risk. Truck drivers, delivery drivers, taxi drivers, Uber drivers. That's not a good thing for the economy on that side of things. On the other side, low-cost delivery will come as a result of that. The most expensive part of that short-range delivery that, when packages come to you via Uber or Lyft is the driver. If that goes away, suddenly you have low-cost delivery for everybody. 1 hour low-cost delivery. Huge businesses will be built on top of that capability. So start thinking about what you would do with that. Other robots that are interesting to look at. Harvey is an autonomous robot that thins out plants in nurseries. If you've not seen it, there's some really cute videos on YouTube. Check it out. Baxter is interesting. It's been around for a while, but this is a $22,000 robot that you can program without knowing how to program things. Guessing most of you in this room know how to program things. This lets you do it without understanding anything about programming. And Moly. If you haven't seen this one, it's kind of cool. I'll show you a video real quick. The idea of this is it's a robot that cooks you dinner. And it does motion capture with a real chef. So the real chef goes through and is motion captured making a recipe. And the idea is Moly in your home will completely reconstruct that exact menu for you on demand. And if you have a good menu, you could capture yourself making that menu and send it to a friend and have it make it for them. So pretty interesting technology. They are saying they will have some product to show next year. We'll see if that happens. This is a pretty complex thing to do, but it's looking like it could be quite promising. And it would disrupt the way that people make meals. You could have ingredients delivered and then all set up. When you come home from work, the meal is made for you and the washing up is already done. Voice and gesture. We are surrounding ourselves with voice-enabled devices already. There are microphones all around us. My house is filled with Amazon Echoes. They are all going to be connected into these various personal assistants so that you can start to order things. With your Amazon Echo, you can just say, I need an Uber, Alexa, and guess what? An Uber shows up at your house. So they're all being connected into these services. And there's an awful lot you can do with this. This is very basic now versus what it's going to be able to do in just only a couple of years from now. So watch that area closely. And virtual augmented reality stuff. This is also just at the beginning of what is going to be possible in the next 5 years. How many of you have tried virtual reality, by the way? Most. Okay, good. So think about all the different flavors of realities on this continuum, where you have reality, this is what we're in right now, over to virtual reality, which is completely 100% synthetic, 100% digital. In between, you have sort of augmented and mixed reality. Augmented, I'm layering digital information over the top of what I can see of the world. Mixed reality, I'm blending them together in a much more sophisticated way so that the digital content interacts with the physical content in the room in a natural way. So virtual reality already here. And it's just going to get better and better, and the price points are going to drop dramatically next year. And a lot of the big companies have already figured this out. This is a way of creating an experience around their brand with consumers. So you're seeing a lot of companies already experimenting in this area. And there's also experimentation going on for shopping in VR. Baidu, Alibaba are working on technologies that allow you to, with Alipay is Alibaba's version of Pay, where you can just nod your head in virtual reality and that will pay for the item that you're looking at. So don't enjoy the products you're looking at too much, because you might be buying them without knowing it. How many of you have seen the HoloLens video? A lot, okay. Well, given the time, I'm just going to put it as a backdrop rather than show it to you. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go check it out. It's on YouTube. Just type Microsoft HoloLens. This is Microsoft's view of how to use mixed reality, what mixed reality would look like. And essentially, it uses lots of 3D sensors built into the visor to map the surfaces in the room that you're in, and then add digital content onto those surfaces. So you can see it's mapping the space here. That's actually what you see when it does it. It's a somewhat limited product now because of the field of view that you have. You feel like you're looking through a letterbox of digital content, but that will get better with time. But it is pretty compelling to be able to share ideas over space, to be able to have digital objects in your world that look as if they are real objects. What it essentially gives you is, and I'm going to curtail this and move us forward, check it out online if you haven't seen it, is apps become objects. If you want to know the weather, you don't have to go hunting and pecking through screens on your phone to find the weather app and then what's the weather like. I could just ask Alexa what the weather's going to be tomorrow. That's one route I could go. Or I could just look at the weather object that I put on the coffee table, or the one I have on my dashboard or my nightstand, or the multiple objects I've scattered around my house. And maybe only I can see them. They're my objects. Or maybe I've shared those objects so everybody can see them in my environment. So apps become objects. Information is now displayed as if it is a physical thing. We are still some time away from this. This is the very early demo that Magic Leap started to show with the flying elephant. I present it to you as great eye candy while I talk about this. They are due to show off their first product at CES, and we'll see how it comes out. They still have some ways to go. They're making very big promises, and I think they're going to take some time before they get to deliver what they're actually saying is what they're aiming at. So we'll see how that goes. Let's wrap up with social and some final thoughts. Social media has come a long way since the very first Facebook pages we enjoyed a decade ago. But it's got a lot further to go, a lot further. They are starting to become entire marketplaces. They are, their aspirations, if you look at where Facebook wants to go, they don't just want to connect you to your friends. They don't just want to connect you to fake news organizations. They want to connect you to companies, to brands, to representative of brands, to chatbots who represent brands, and make it an entire commercial platform where you execute your life. I don't think social media is going to capture the scope of what these grow into. So I've started calling them life platforms because I think this is a place you will go to transact a lot of the things that you want to get done in your life. If you're law enforcement, This is very nerve-wracking because they're also going to be very highly encrypted. But these are going to be spaces that you interact with your voice. You can still type and use touch. You can interact with them using augmented virtual reality. And these things are going to gain skills over time. You will be able to connect things into them. If you think about what Alexa does, you teach Alexa skills. Imagine all of your social networks being able to gain skills and connect you to more information, more services that you subscribe to. So expect that these platforms are going to change beyond recognition within the next 5 years. All of those come together. All of those changes lead us to this next era of computing, where maybe you don't need to take the phone out of your pocket or your purse every time you want to get something done. There will be other ways for you to do that. By using your voice, by using gesture, by accessing digital services through objects in your home. The way that you access digital information will change. We will move to the post-mobile era the same way that we are now in the post-PC era. You'll still have a phone, you'll still have a PC. But there'll be other ways that you're able to interact with the digital information in your life that you need right now. And it will come to you a lot more proactively without you having to go and seek it out yourself. So some final thoughts. Every company is going to be a data company. If you're building a product, start thinking about how you can turn that into a service, an experience, or start delivering transformations, because you can charge a lot more to deliver a transformation. If you want to teach a kid Chinese, that is different than selling a teddy bear. Think about human-machine partnerships, not replacing humans, but how do you use the best skills of all of the different components you have in your labor force? HR has to completely rethink the way that they are constructing their products, the portfolio of talent in their companies. If you are thinking about what your next career step should be, or you are giving advice to members of your family or friends about their careers, people should be focusing, if they want to be employed for the longer term, they need to be thinking about roles that embrace human creativity, human empathy, dexterity. Anything that is about your humanity. Those jobs are going to be around, and they're going to be around a long time. If you're a programmer, how many programmers in this room? Okay, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Because it's about creativity. There'll be some of the tasks you do which are more mundane that will be automated, but that's okay. It'll let you spend more time on the fun stuff. And finally, whatever your company is, be thinking about this fourth era now. The smarter companies already are. Don't be caught by surprise. We all know the brands that were late to market with mobile. Don't be late to market with the next era. Whatever we decide to call it, I'm not even going to try and name it. Whatever that next era is called, be ready for it and start thinking about it now. If you want to get hold of me, that's how you can get hold of me. I really appreciate the time. I know it's a hot room on a cold night, but thanks for the time. I appreciate it.